The frunk on a Tesla Model Y is spacious with 88 liters of storage, but the tiny pilot light is a letdown. Sometimes it can be quite frustrating when you have the frunk filled up and items block the pilot light. So for example, you're in your camping trip and you're trying to find something in the dark, but all you can see are shadows. Introducing the frunk LED light strip from Tylard. You install this just along the rim of the frunk so you get full illumination no matter how much junk is in your frunk. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to install this on a Tesla Model Y. And here it is, the LED light strip from Tlyard. In the box, you'll get the LED light strip with the necessary wiring harness to hook this up on your Tesla. It looks like it uses a 2-pin JST connector to power up the strip. And to extract power from the car, they supply you with this wiring harness that's tapped into the same power source that powers up the same pilot light in the frunk. So what would happen here is that you would connect this 2-pin JST connector together, which then gets power from the car. But what I don't understand is why we have this other wire with a magnet in the end, which attaches to bare metal, so essentially ground, when the circuit's already getting ground from the pilot light. Comments down below if you know. The tools you need for this job are very basic. First, you need a plastic pry tool. This is just an ordinary pry tool, nothing fancy. We also need a pair of scissors or a sharp knife for this job because the LED light strip is a bit long and we need to cut it to size. Next, we need a glue gun or something similar to reattach the cover at the end of the light strip that we just cut off. And since we will be working with hot melted glue, a good pair of gloves so we don't accidentally burn our fingers. We will also need a small pick tool like this, or if you don't have one of those small ones, a pick tool set will also do. For this job, I kind of prefer the small one because I can get my fingers right next to the plug so I have better control removing the connector. We will also need a measuring tape and a fabric tape so we can tidy up the wires so they don't dangle around. And lastly, of course, this frunk LED light strip from Tlyard. You can get this from the Tlyard website, links down below, and it's available for pretty much all the Tesla model lineup. Just select the model you need, choose the color temperature, either cool white or warm white, and before checking out, make sure to add my discount code ANG30 to save up to 30%. And just in case you don't have all or any of the tools I mentioned here, I have them all listed in the description box of the video as affiliate product links to either Amazon or AliExpress, so feel free to check them out later. Just note that if you click on any of them and buy from the store, I may or may not get a small commission. And as always, thanks for all your support. Once you have all the required tools, installation couldn't be any simpler. The first step is to measure how much length from the light strip to cut because it's slightly longer than the perimeter of the frunk. So here I'm just using this spare wire and I'm just inserting it underneath this rubber seal where the light strip would go. But you might be wondering, Ron, why not just insert the light strip, then cut it in place? Why go through all this hassle? Correct, I can do it that way, but my objective here is to get the measurement and share it with everyone so non-Juniper Model Y owners can pre-cut the light strip, which should have been done by Tlyard if you ask me. So I'm doing this for you guys. So now that the entire perimeter is covered, I'll just put a mark where it ended and measure the length. So just go ahead and pull the wire out. And I'm just going to grab my measuring tape and I'm going to line up the start of the wire to the 0 point and just run it down until I reach the marker I left earlier. And that comes up to 250 centimeters. So for all non-Juniper Model Y owners, go forth and measure your light strip and start cutting. Next, I have the tape measure and the light strip laid out on the floor. I'll put a mark where 250 centimeters is, so this is our target, but I'm not going to cut it yet because the LED light strip has designated cut points and it's indicated by a slight dot through this transparent window. It's a bit difficult to see them unless you have laser sharp eyesight, but if you're like me with less than perfect eyesight, I find that it helps if you hold it like this and push it from behind while trying to push the front in as if you're trying to split it open. After doing this and you still don't see any cut point, you're probably not on a cut point. Just move either left or right and repeat the same process until you see one. What they are just black lines on the LED strip that separates a segment of LEDs. So in this case, each segment is composed of 3 LED lights and 1 chip. Once you have located the nearest cut point before the red marker, it can't be after the marker, otherwise the LED light strip will be too long to fit the perimeter of the frunk. Cutting it is easy, don't be scared. You can either use a pair of scissors or a sharp knife. You have about 2 millimeters of buffer on either side of the dot, so it's okay if you miss the dot, but don't miss it by that much. After making the cut, inspect you didn't damage any of the components. In this case, this looks good. By the way, just a small tip, if you cut it one cut point just before our marker, you'll get a really tight fit, as in the start and the end of the light strip will almost touch each other. If you want to have a small gap, just cut the second cut point before the red marker. In my case, I want to have a tight fit, so I will cut the first cut point just before the marker. Then retrieve this cover so we can use it to cover up the new end. For this part of the DIY, we will use this heat gun. It's been heating up for a few minutes and it's all ready to go. Make sure you're wearing protective gloves so you don't burn yourself. While the cover is within easy reach, dab a generous amount at the end and very quickly attach the cover and hold it for several seconds until the glue dries up. That should be all done and we can now install this in the frunk. I'll be installing this with the rounded edge facing down because that's where the light will be projected out. And not only that, I'll also install this so that the transparent line is facing inwards. Because if you remember earlier, the LED chips are facing the side without the thin transparent line. So roughly line it up in the middle just above the pilot light. Then we'll slowly work our way counterclockwise around the frunk. We don't have to tuck it in tight right now, just tuck it in loosely, then later on we'll circle back around to tidy it up. I am happy with that, right in the middle where I want it to be. So now we can circle back and push it in as far as it can go, all the way around. The next step is to connect the wiring harness, and the first thing we need to do is remove this plastic panel. This is held in place by 3 clips on top, so using a plastic pry tool, insert and twist, insert and twist, insert and twist. Then pull it up and it should come off. Be careful because we still need to unplug the connector attached to it. I'm just gonna put this Tesla charger back to prop it up for better view. This is a bit tricky. If you're doing this for the first time and you might have seen other installers pull it out with ease, please don't do that. You need to use a pick tool, preferably a small one like this, to release that small clip. So what we do is we press that small hole there, and while you're pressing it, pull this connector out, and while pulling it, release the pick tool. And the connector should come off. Next, grab the wiring harness. Don't be intimidated that it has 4 plugs. It's actually very straightforward because each plug can only be attached to a specific connector. First, get the female plug on the wiring harness and connect that to the male plug from the Tesla. Take note of the orientation of the plugs. that the small hole on the female end should align with the small pin on the male side. And connect that in. Make sure it's tight. Then grab the other end of the Tlyard connector. So this should be the male end, and take note of the pin. Make sure the small clip is facing outward, and then just slide that in. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then test that the latch release is still working, which is good, and it's all lit up. Next, grab the small black connector from the Tylard wiring harness and plug this into the connector sticking out from the LED light strip. Push it in until you hear it click in place. This is an opportune time to start thinking about wire management, and I can see this is a perfect spot for a zip tie right here. So grab a small zip tie and secure this loose wire right here. This is actually the wire of the Tylard soft close frunk I installed recently. If you need a detailed instruction how to install this on your Tesla, I'll leave a link in the description box or on the pop-up banner on top of this video so you can watch it later. In the meantime, let's continue with the installation. There's only one left to connect, and that is this magnetic ground. Press the latch release switch first to energize the system, then connect the magnetic ground to this bare metal here. This is the only wire that seems to provide ground to the circuit, even though there's a ground wire in the wiring harness itself. So you can see as soon as I connect the magnet here, the circuit comes to life. This is also an opportune time to think about wire management, and I can see a perfect spot to tape this ground wire here to make sure it doesn't dangle around. So I'm just going to cut a small piece of fabric tape and stick the wire right here. There it is. I'm happy with that. It's time to close up. Closing is very simple. Just grab the plastic cover, align the 3 clips at the bottom and slide it down. Then push the top section so the clips on top line up, making sure the wire isn't pinched. Once aligned, push each clip to lock it in place. And we are done. Look at that. Illumination goes all the way up to the brim of the frunk so you can see all that junk. However, I can see a mix of yellow and white light. I'm not sure if this is how warm white should be. It actually looks worse on camera. In person, it's still visible but not as obvious. But overall, I'm very happy. It's much better, and considering how affordable and easy it is to install, there's no reason not to get one of these. Now you might think the LED light will turn off as soon as you close the frunk, but as a matter of fact, it doesn't. It'll remain on while the front pilot light is illuminated. I tested this and it switched off just before the 10-minute mark, but I might have started timing a bit later. In the Tylard website, it said it'll switch off after 10 minutes, so that seems to be accurate. And that's all I have for you in this video. Thanks for watching. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. That motivates me to create more content like this, and I appreciate you. And as always, affiliate links to all the products and tools I used here are all in the description box of the video, so go check them out. See you on the next one.